Hello everyone. Today I am going to be explaining the UDL Exchange and Newzilla. Katie will be explaining Zaption and TouchCast, and then Maddie will be explaining Web 2.0 and Paper.li. So I'm going to start with UDL Exchange. So this is UDL Exchange, and I have logged in, as you can see, and I'm in the Browse section. And what UDL Exchange does for teachers, it puts lessons, resources, and collections together for teachers to view and share. So we have a list here of lessons, so you can filter what you want to find. So I'm in lessons, and there's over 1,000 here. You can also filter it by content area, which is great. Grade level makes it very easy to find lessons and use them in the classroom. You can also build your own lesson. I have two here, and let's just say we're going to start a new lesson. You enter in the title of the lesson. Let's say that we'll just call this UDL for now. And it takes you to this page where it just breaks every aspect of the lesson down for you. It makes it so easy. You can you click on this one, this little pencil to edit. It gives you UDL support. It explains what it is looking for. You can also run over this for information. It makes everything so easy. This could obviously be used in a classroom for creating your lessons.
Um, I really like that little info button that you can scroll over to get more info on each section. It also gives you examples, which I have found really helpful in using the UDL lesson exchange lesson builder. Because sometimes when you know where you want to go, but you just need a little direction, and I think that's something that website does really well.
Yeah, it goes right back to the, whole new teacher thing, which I feel like I see in a lot of different tools, but especially this one because it gives, guidance as to where you can go with the lesson. You can put as much detail into it as you want, or you can be as brief as you want. And it gives you a lot of room to really organize everything out. So I like that a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to Newzilla. And Newzilla I love using it in classrooms because it's just a resource for information. So we have here just articles and things like that from around the world. It's just about current events and facts, things that are happening around the world. And one thing that I'm not signed in, but you can they're broken down by war and peace, science, kids, money, law, health, and it also you can search by grade level of what's appropriate grade level content. You can find reading standards, find in different languages, which is great for ELLs. You can have the article in English and in Spanish, which I think is great. You can also search certain countries. Like if we're doing a project on a certain country, you can find current events on that specific city, country, state, things like that. I think that's just wonderful to have as a resource as a teacher and get information and reliable sources to present to my classroom, and for students in the older grades doing research of their own and bringing really good articles to the classroom.
I think this is a great resource. Just anywhere you can go that has everything you need in one spot is awesome for teachers. But I really liked that you can put it in different languages because it allows those ELL kids to be doing exactly what the English speakers are doing without putting a lot of like work on the teacher or relying on a different educator in the room. I think that's really helpful because sometimes you run into situations where you don't have all the assistance you need, and I think things that make it easier like this are super helpful.
That's a good point.
I love how it's such a time-consuming and tedious task gathering resources and finding ones that you like and are useful. And I really like how this one really kind of just puts everything, together, and it makes it a lot easier for teachers and students to really like find what they need.
So we're going to move on to Katie with Zaption and TouchCast.
Okay, so I'm gonna do Zaption first. Both Zaption and TouchCast are websites that let you create interactive videos. So they're going to kind of go together, but I wanted to touch on Zaption first. So let me share my screen. Okay. So this is Zaption. This is what your home page will look like, where all of your materials are. So you can obviously create your own. So it's very easy to use. You do need to make a you need to log in, but you can browse videos. You can either type in a URL for any of these websites, or type a keyword search. So I just used one that we used in LED 318, the one that I created. So say that's the video I want to use. I put it in my Zaption. So now up here are all the resources that I can add. I can also add more videos if I would like to. I can add a text slide, and what I like about this is I can either add it right over the video in its own thing or next to the video, so you can see it as the video is being played. So you're watching the video, but you're also talking to your students through text on the side. You also have an image slide option, same thing, and a drawing slide option. This is especially good for things like math and science where you need to explain yourself as you're talking. And then these 5 are all assessment buttons. So you have open response, which is a BCR, numerical response, short answer, and then you have multiple choice, checkboxes, so multiple answers, and then a drawn response. So again, math or science would be great for this, or even with ELL kids, they could draw instead of writing. And then there's also a discussion option. This lets them comment in real time, time-stamped and threaded to a discussion thread. So once you have this how you want it, you can preview it and then you publish it and then you name it. Once you publish your video, it can be shared, of course. The cool thing about this is you can share it either self-paced, so each individual viewer can go through it at their own pace, or you can present it live and everyone goes through it at the same time. You can also embed it, just like with everything else, and share it. The other cool thing about this is it has an analytics page. So when people take these assessments, there's nothing on mine yet, but these is the stuff you would see. So you have viewers, average viewing time, completed all questions, and so you get all of this data. You can also share it with your students if that's something beneficial for what you're doing. So that's just, I mean, anytime you can get data like that, it's a great resource. There's the other couple things I wanted to touch on. There's a gallery for this, a ton of lessons and collections that other people have put together. You got Holocaust on human behavior, physics, philosophy, feminism, all sorts of stuff. And then there's a page that I really thought was beneficial, student projects using Zaption. So you teach your kids how to use it. This is a teacher professional development page, and it gives you all of these ideas and lessons to have them create their own projects. So self-critique, highlight reels, annotated analysis, all of these different ideas. Again, being a new teacher, needing ideas, it's just a great resource to kind of get you started with that.
I really like this resource because I really believe in giving the children time to do their work. So creating a lesson like this, they can, like with the self-paced option, they can go through this lesson as fast or as slow as they need to. And I can walk around the room while they're doing this lesson that I've created myself, that I know that it has good content. I can walk around the room and help people, talk to people, have a conversation with with the content that they're learning. I think this is great for things like that.
Yeah, I really liked that it gives you the option of live or self-paced, because a lot are either or, but I liked that this one had both and you could choose.
What really stood out to me was the discussion feature, because, you know, we learn about how there's going to be all sorts of new ways to make up snow days and to really bring the classroom online to really make up for, you know, any sort of reason why a student might not make it to school that day. And with the discussion thing, the students can learn from each other, they can collaborate ideas, and everyone can kind of just communicate together during the lesson, and I really think that could be beneficial in a lot of ways.
That's a great point. I mean, if you implement this in your class and make it a regular thing, you are putting the responsibility on the students. If they are out of school, or if you have the flipped classroom model, it's up to them to, you know, do work outside of class. So now I'm going to go to TouchCast. It's a very similar tool, but it is slightly different. So, okay, this is the home screen for TouchCast. For TouchCast, it is not web-based like Zaption is. This is actually an app for the iPad. So it does have a website with a bunch of information and demos and lessons and all sorts of stuff. But to actually make the TouchCast, you download it onto a iPad, tablet, or mobile device.
Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties with Katie's computer. So Maddie, we're going to pass it over to you to start with your
Okay.
Web
Well,
2.0.
all right. Okay. Well, I can talk about Web 2.0 until Katie, you know, comes back. Basically, Web 2.0 is a great way for finding new online tools. We learn about all sorts of tools in these Hangouts, but if you want to find even more, let me share my screen. Okay. So as you can see, it divides everything up that you might need into these 5 different categories. So I'm going to click on Presentation Tools. So when I come here, you can see there are 3 different resources that it gives me: SlideShare, Prezi, and Pix Viewer. And it gives a nice description and a link. So these 3 things are different ways to present information other than PowerPoint, and it gives teachers and students a new way to explore new resources. And one category that I really like is mobile tools, because that category is just new in general, um, with using like phones and whatnot in the classroom. And so we have another 3 resources. And anyone can go on here and really look at everything that's available. Basically, it just gives all sorts of different online tools. Okay, so let me look around. Okay. So, as you can see, there's different categories up here. So there are different resources for teachers, parents, and students. And if you want to get in touch with the community and work on your professional development, you can go to Conversations and Connections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to teachers because that's what we're on. K through 5, let's say math. Okay, so it gives all sorts of different resources online for math and how to teach math. And I love this because we're always looking for new ways to integrate technology, and Web 2.0 really gives us a way to do that. And it makes things quite easy without having to really like search for it online. We have all sorts of resources right here. And on the side, there's little blurbs. So, you know, there's different, this is a Pinterest blurb. So it has an article on digital storytelling and, you know, how it can be used for online quizzes and assessments. And then it has a little YouTube blurb. So there's, you know, resources on the side here that you can use for inspirations. You can learn about internet safety, media literacy, tech tips, and this just gives all the ins and outs of how to start integrating more technology in the classroom.
This is a great resource for teachers to use, like you said, just to get acquainted with technology in the classroom. And that's the way that education is going now. So we really need to have a site like this to really dive deep into how we can use technology in the classroom efficiently.
Right. There are so many teachers that are, you know, afraid to start integrating technology because they don't know where to start. And this website is a great resource for like a jumping off point.
Agreed.
Okay. I'll go into my next tool, which is paper.li. So I'll screen share again. Okay, so paper.li is a way to create an online newspaper where you can gather sources and articles from all over the web and collect them onto your own newspaper, and you can choose the topic of, you know, what you want to include in it, and what articles you want to be reading and where you want them to come from. So as you can see, you can select your own sources. They can come from Twitter, they can come from the newspaper, Facebook, YouTube, and you can edit the font, and you can promote your own newspaper that you create anywhere and share it. So I made one of these earlier. So I'm going to walk you through the process of how this works. So get fresh content about, let's say I want to learn about cardio for whatever reason. Okay. So what it does is it gives me all sorts of different, you know, resources I might want to use for my newspaper. Let's say I want to learn about the environment. It gives me all sorts of resources again. I can click on to include in my newspaper, and once I start using these resources, it'll start creating more articles for me in my newspaper, and it will update about every 24 hours. So I'm not going to create a paper right now because when I did that earlier, it takes about 10 minutes to load up and for all the articles to appear on the screen. But I just wanted to show how it's a great way to find resources, and you can change the language. So if you have, an English language learner, you can change it to Spanish or French or Italian, whatever you might need it to be. And here's just a list of features that paper.li has. So you can schedule your updates so that instead of having to go on whenever you want to make an update and do it manually, you can schedule it so that it will just do it automatically at whatever time you set. You could subscribe to a specific paper or wherever you want, and you'll start seeing those subscriptions in your newspaper. You can bookmark things, write your own edits. You can embed it onto your own website. And what I really liked about this is I thought this would be a great resource for like research projects. If students are trying to research a specific thing, we could have them create a newspaper where they collect their own resources and use those for research. Another thing that it could be used for is if the teacher herself or himself is trying to find, new inspiration for topics to discuss in class, current events, if that's always something that's, useful to at least mention every day, something that's happening. It keeps everything together in one place, and you can choose whatever topic you want it to be on.
This could be a really good resource for a teacher too, to create a newspaper on a subject that we're talking about in class. So creating a newspaper, like you said, on maybe, let's say, Egypt. So I can create a newspaper and have different facts and things like that right in one place for them, and knowing that I created this and knowing they're getting the exact information that I need them to. And the fact that you can use different resources and place whatever you would like in there is really helpful.
Yeah, and I really like the automatic updating feature. I mean, especially if you're going to use this more than once. I mean, if it's a source that you know that's going to continually have good resources, I think that's awesome. Like, just like buying a newspaper from a certain source, it takes so much of the work away from the teacher.
That is one concern that I had when I was looking at this tool. I wasn't sure how well the resources were being filtered, and I couldn't tell if there even really was a filtering process. So when it comes to like compiling reliable resources, that would definitely have to be something that students and teachers would have to acknowledge was the type of resources that were coming up.
Especially with the Twitter and stuff like that.
Exactly,
Right.
but that can be a part of the discussion of using this, them creating a newspaper. That could be the discussion or the lesson beforehand, establishing appropriate resources and using things and citing them and things like that. It could, we could lead into something like this.
Right. And that's a skill that students, start working on at a young age. So that's definitely something that would be addressed beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it for our Hangout today, and I hope you enjoyed our explanation of our tools. Good night.